It doesn't matter what I've learned in any real estate market, people have to have somewhere to live. I think the problem is, as team leaders, we want to check the box and move on to something else, putting a lot of thought into everything that you do. It's so much easier to try to retain a client than go out and get another one. Putting a lot of thought into each aspect of what you're doing. As realtors, we just think, oh, they're going to remember me forever. But they don't unless you stay in front of them forever.
Welcome back to the Reside Platform Podcast. This is an exciting episode because we're here with Tara Limbird. She is the team leader and broker owner of the number one team in Arkansas for the last 10 years. It's hard enough to get to number one, but it's even harder to stay at the top. And so we're going to find out how she did that. She sold over $1.5 billion in real estate, owns multiple other pillars of revenue sources that we're going to dive into today. And we also got Preston Guyton. Preston, how's it going, bud?
Good, man. How are you?
We're really good. Tara, thank you for joining us today. Give our audience a little bit of background about your business and your life. How did you end up where you're at today?
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. Like I said, I'm Tara Limbird, and I'm here in Northwest Arkansas, which is, I always tell people, the home of Walmart. If you've ever heard of that little company. So that's where we're located. But I'm an Arkansas native. I grew up about an hour and a half south of here and actually started off in the mortgage business and did that for 5 or 6 years. And of course, the grass is always greener on the other side. And so I decided, wow, this real estate gig that everyone's doing, that looks like a lot of fun. But I didn't want to be, which I'm dating myself. I thought if I'm a normal realtor, I just get a phone book and a desk and you just start going at it. I thought, I don't want to do that. So I actually found in the newspaper a job ad back when people looked in newspapers for jobs as well. But they had a new construction home specialist position available. And so I applied for that. That was in 2004. And I've never timed very many things well in my life, but that was actually great timing because for those of us that have been in the business a while, 2004 was some great years in real estate, and I didn't know how lucky I had it, but I joined a new construction subdivision. I sat in a model home. They basically handed me a stack of folders and said, here's all your listings. These 2 are under contract. And I'm just like, okay, I guess this is just how real estate works, you know? But obviously quickly learned that was not the case. Yeah. But we did that. I did that for a couple of years and it was great. About 2006, the market kind of started turning a little bit. And my position there in the model homes was I can only work in that neighborhood. So I decided maybe it's time to branch out a little bit, not put all my eggs in one basket. And so that's when I joined a national franchise and started selling what I call normal real estate. So that's what we did for a few years. And then about 2010, my husband decided to get his license and we're like, why don't we start a team? Even though at the time there was one team in our area and it was a mother-son team, and so we're like, well, I don't really even know how this works, but it sure sounds good. Let's just start a team. And so that's kind of how we started in 2010 and just kind of slowly grown over the last 13 years, and here we are now.
So you started with new construction company. Were they still around in 2010?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So we had like 5 or 6 builders that operated under them. They're out of Detroit, and but yeah, I think they're still in existence, but they decided to go back home to Detroit and do things there. So. Yeah, it was a good time to pivot. I didn't know that at the time because new construction definitely started slowing down soon after that.
Yeah. I started in 2004 too, and I tell people it's the first couple of years I thought, man, this is great. And then 2007, 2008, 2009, I was like, holy cow! I got to change.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting. Starting real estate, then you've seen some of the best markets ever. Some of the worst markets. And then 2020, I don't even know what these markets were, but they were unusual. But that's what I tell our team is it doesn't matter what I've learned in any real estate market. people have to have somewhere to live. It doesn't matter what's going on, no matter what the interest rates are. People still have babies. People still get divorced. People still get married. People still relocate. Life still happens. And so sometimes you just have to pivot and go from new construction to more of investors and foreclosures and short sales. And, you just have to be willing to be adaptable, and you can make it in any market.
Well, it's also interesting, a lot of our futures all can be in our past if we're willing to look back at it. Mm-hmm. And you entered the real estate industry because you saw an ad. Right. And it wasn't an ad that said, would you like to become a real estate agent or start your real estate sales career? Mm-hmm. It was new construction home specialist. And so looking back on that ad, do you use any advertising to attract agents into specialty roles to enroll them into the industry versus just, hey, here, you get to become a real estate agent?
No, but I might start that today, because that is a good idea.
Well, it attracted you. Okay, yeah. Let me ask you another question then. Looking back at your career, running a team for 13 years, how have you found agents to join your team?
Right. Well, I think we've been really fortunate. A lot of our agents have joined our team kind of the same way with a lot of our buyers and sellers, as we've always, I feel like, done a very, very good job of marketing and branding. And so we do have a large attraction. Like, we usually receive a couple thousand applications every year to join our team. But a lot of that's people that are new to the business, and so we all know, and everyone has kind of a different philosophy. Some teams only like to bring on brand new people. Some people like experience. We like a little bit of both. So that's, so that's kind of what we've done in the past, is done. And some, actually a lot of our agents too are even past clients of our team. So it's been kind of a multitude of things that we've done.
So, Pat, 1,000.
Nick, did you catch that number?
Wait a second, 1,000 applicants a year.
Yes.
Tell us more about that, because Preston and I are taking notes.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Where do they come from? Where's the lead sources? Because I know you probably track everything.
Yeah, definitely. Well, most of it's just from Wise Hire and Indeed, and a lot of people are either brand new to the business or they have not even taken the test yet. So. I know there are some teams, we've not done this yet, but where they offer, a scholarship program to help people get their license. So we haven't done that yet, but that might be, something to offer, just since we do have such a large number of people that actually apply to be on the team, which actually becomes its own sort of set of obstacles, is trying to decide, who to say yes to and who not to. We all know it's really hard to tell if someone's going to be great or not great at this until they actually get involved in it. And this past year, we did bring on a lot more newer people and kind of took them to more like a boot camp and launch program to see if they could actually have the chops to make it. But that's, that's kind of its own set of obstacles too, because it's, the team. We've always been a tight-knit team, even though we're a larger team. And as you bring people through and people don't make it, it's that's been a challenge we've had to learn to deal with this year, is how it kind of changes the dynamics of your team.
How many do y'all bring on a year usually? So you say there's an average.
Right. I would say on average, we actually, as far as a net, on agents, we usually net like anywhere from about 3 to 6 new people a year. And even though we brought on a lot of people last year, when it all, and I say last year, 2023, to me, this year's already done, but we still probably only net about the same, because, this was a tough year. We lost more people this year than we have in the past. Just, the market's different. What's required of all of us is different. And it's, sometimes it just doesn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme, I think, across the country. We brought on a lot of people, but we're going to end up about maybe 15% higher than we were at the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah.
With agent count.
As a leader, how do you handle the thought of bringing someone on, the responsibility of bringing someone on, not knowing if they're going to be productive or not. So let me put some context. Talking to team leaders and like early team leaders, right? Like when you're first starting out, they're hesitant to bring people on because they want everything to be put into place. They want a perfect onboarding. They want enough leads. They want to make sure that they're successful.
Yeah.
How do you handle that, not knowing that?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I think we've gotten a better handle on it, but I think it's something that's constantly evolving. We've even done the Nick McLean onboarding class, and that helped us a whole lot too. Every time we use the word indoctrinate in our team, it's always like, as Nick McLean would say, we've got to indoctrinate people, But it's hard. I mean, when we were a smaller team and we brought people on, I was usually the one training them. And I'm not trying to like give myself kudos, but I think I did a really good job of training them. But because more one-on-one, hands-on type approach. And as you do get larger, your time becomes shrink down. So that's a challenge. But now we have somebody on our team that's her primary role is to train. And she also does some recruiting for us. And so we have our onboarding class usually lasts about 3 weeks. And it's about half a day for 3 weeks and just getting people on the phone and having kind of a little test along the way of making sure that they're, doing the things that they need to do. But, and it's constantly evolving. I think the problem is, as team leaders, we want to check the box and move on to something else. And with training agents and onboarding agents, it seems like it's a constant work in progress. You're constantly trying to figure out what works best. And each class that we bring on is a little bit different. Some of them, learn really fast, and some, take a little bit more time on certain things. Some have more experience in real estate than others. Some have more life experience than others. And so it's like, it's really hard to just rinse and repeat just because you're dealing with humans. And when you're dealing with humans, it makes things a little difficult. So a little challenging.
Well, when it comes to that, it's like, okay, I heard you say that it's constantly evolving. It's constantly evolving. And part of being a team leader too, early on, take yourself back to 2010, 2012, you spent a lot of time one-on-one with them to make sure that they, not only you teach them, but that they retain that. And then they probably need to go out there and show you that they not only heard what you said, but can do it. And you're constantly, you're watching them go through that process, and through that iteration process, you can build out your system. Well, it takes a long time. You need a lot of reps. I think team leaders need to understand, like, get out there, get some reps, you need agents. You're not going to be perfect at your first agent, second agent, 10th agent. So get out there and do it. You mentioned that some agents are leaving, and Preston talked about this marketplace, 2024, or 23 going into 24, that the agents are leaving because you had to change the way you're running it. And before we jumped on this podcast, you said something about going from a marketing-based business to a prospecting-based business.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Sure. We've always, I feel like, done a really good job. Like, I think that's one of my strong suits is marketing. And we've done a really good job in our area of marketing our team and branding. And so we attract a lot of business to our team. But the downside of that is it's not something you can count on, every single day, like knowing, oh, this is how many people are just going to happen to call my phone today and want to list their house. And so we started moving more to a prospecting based business because I didn't want to ever feel like our success was dependent on the market. And with prospecting based, how many people you need to talk to every day and how many appointments you need to set and listing presentations you need to do and to be able to reach your goals. And so it was something that, I always sometimes, joke with my agents. I'll grab the phone. I'm like, hey, I don't know if y'all have done the new update on your phone, but it's really cool. And this cool update now where you actually can dial out, it's super awesome. If y'all want to try that, Because we forget, like, you can't just wake up day like, oh, I hope I go on 2 appointments and people just happen to call me. But I can control how many calls I make and how many appointments I set. So that's why we kind of started moving, is so we could have a little more control over our business. Yeah. They love my jokes.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Preston, where do you want to dive into? You want to dive into marketing or the prospecting based side of that?
You mentioned one thing before we got on, the importance of that, because I think a lot of agents, especially now with everything is pulling at your attention, like, where do you focus? And you talked about, focusing on one thing. Is that something when you started the marketing, was there one thing you focused on? When you started the real estate team, was there one main focus at first?
Well, I think at first, of course, we didn't know what the heck we were doing at first, but as we kind of dived into it, I think a lot of it was being super consistent, it was, we started on radio probably like 2013 maybe, and just being very consistent with what we do and the message that we were providing, like, even everything down to our logo and our look. It's just that everything you see of us, whether it's on social media or our website, it's just everything is super, super consistent. And so I think that's the problem sometimes is people, like, this is a good example, is when we decided to become an independent brokerage, we had to get new real estate signs. So we worked for a long time to have our real estate signs. I narrowed it down to 3. I had them print all 3 signs, and then I took one and went and put it in my front yard and hammered it in. Got my car, drove around the neighborhood, and just kind of like to see if it would catch my eye, what I could see, what was it clearly visible. Took that sign out, hammered the second one, and then did the same thing. So I think, putting a lot of thought, I always say everything on our team doesn't happen by accident. And so it's just putting a lot of thought into everything that you do. I laugh at, not just real estate, but every industry that spends a lot of money on billboards. And I'm like, I can't even read it. It's like, who did this? Who approved this? And so just putting a lot of thought and being consistent and realizing you can't go on the radio one time and think everyone's going to call you, or go into a magazine or do anything just one time. It's being consistent with your message and your branding.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people do in this business. And a lot of businesses, they don't spend a lot of time. They pick a logo in like 2 seconds. They're like, oh, that looks good. They don't really give it a lot of thought. And just like you just shared, the signage, I mean, that sounded like that was something that took weeks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So most people don't do that. So, being consistent in marketing is definitely huge for sure.
Yeah, and then making sure you're being that consumer. What are they seeing? Our marketing team, a lot of times they're at the office and they're working on these big screens and they're doing all this stuff, and then I'll see it because I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, you guys need to make sure you're looking at it on your phone too, because like this is of course they say I'm getting old and that I just can't see very well anymore, which that may be true too. But I'm like, well, then everybody's getting old, so we got to appeal to that audience as well. So it just making sure you're looking at everything, and it's, just putting a lot of thought into what you're doing.
Taking that perspective approach to the outside looking in approach, that different perspective other than your shoes is really important. And I see that at the top levels, especially when you have an independent broker, Preston, independent brokerage, I'm an independent brokerage, you're an independent brokerage, and going through that process of having to create everything. Like, you literally have to create everything. And I'm not saying to do that, but the process of doing that makes you really think about your brand, makes you really think about your signs. Where do you order your signs? You got to look at your proofs. You got to look at your flyers. You got to look at every little piece. And I think if even if you're at a big brand, taking that approach to your team will do wonders for you. For sure. Right.
Definitely.
Where's your marketing? Where do you see a lot of your, how do you build you talked about radio. What are three other marketing sources that have made the biggest impact on your business?
Radio has been really good for branding. I think, a lot of we do so many different things that it sometimes becomes difficult to track. We all have that problem. One of my favorite stories is one time a lady called about listing her house, and I'm like, "So how did you hear about us?" And she's like, "Well, it's because I heard you on the radio, and then I was driving through a subdivision the other day, and I saw one of your signs. And then I was at Walmart, and I was talking to a friend and telling her I was thinking about selling my house, and she told me I should call y'all." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like my mind is like, "What do I even write down?" It's kind of like a basketball team. Like, one lead source gets the point, one gets the assist. But because it's so many little things have play on that. But at this point, obviously, we do a lot of past clients and Sphere. We do a lot of client appreciation events. We have a Facebook page for our past clients. It's our Limbird Loyalty Club. We offer, promotions. We, give little Starbucks gift cards for birthdays, a little barcode that they could take and, buy on themselves a free drink for their birthday. Just it's so much easier to try to retain a client than go out and get another one. But I think as agents, I'm guilty as well of the squirrels all over the place. So just being, cognizant of that and spending some more marketing dollars there, I think is important. We do a lot of, Google, as far as PPC and reviews. We have close to 1,000 reviews now from our team. And, that helps a lot. A lot of people, before every closing, we're always checking with the client to find out kind of how they heard about us. And a lot of it is from our reviews and seeing us, Googling realtors in our area. So that's been huge for us. And then also even just Facebook, social media stuff that we run. We're lucky enough to have a lot of listings. And so we have a lot of opportunities to market those and attract buyers and other people looking to sell. And so those are some of the things that are working well for us.
Nick, you know what I thought of when she said that, so many locations? Have you started reading that book, Oversubscribed, yet?
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah. So Oversubscribed, if you haven't read it, Tara's a great book.
Okay.
It talks about building a relationship and having to, a lot of building, it's 1174 is what they talk about. And I kind of look at that from a marketing digital standpoint, that they need to see you in 4 locations before they actually move you to like a potential client or move you to somebody they would potentially hire. It says it from an acquaintance to a friend in the book, but it's a really good book when you think about marketing and the way people overlook like remarketing and rebranding and all those things. A lot of times, especially in pay-per-click, when I'm setting up, we're setting up AdWords accounts and things like that. It's very important for people to see you in so many different locations, because all of a sudden they keep seeing you and they're like, hey, I sign up on your website and I see you here, and then, then go and see a review. And then all of a sudden when they reach out, there's a better chance for them to work with one of your agents. So it's, that's a really good book though. I think Sanit was the original one that shared it with me. So
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, yeah. And I think for a lot of people, you realize strategically, they hear like, okay, 1174, what is it? 11 contacts, 7 hours of consumption in 4 different locations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You hear something like that, and I want people to realize they came up with that based on observation on what has worked. They didn't come up with that and do it. It wasn't a strategy going, okay, I think 1174 is going to work, so we're going to build out an email campaign, a marketing campaign, everything. No, what happened was Tara in Bentonville was crushing it for 10 straight years and became number 1. And they went there and they studied her and found that the people that used her, she couldn't even figure out where the lead source came from, because they saw her from 4 different locations: the sign, the radio, the social media, and an event. Right. And then they also noticed that they consumed about 7 hours of her content through social media, other sources. And then they also noticed that all of her transactions also were touched 11 times in Follow a Boss. Right. And so they came up with the framework. So what I'm saying is Nassim Taleb talks about professors teach people how birds fly, right? And that's just a professor it's not a bird, doesn't know how to fly, just explaining how birds fly. So 1174 is explaining like how Tara flies. Tara didn't wake up one day and do it, right? So what I'm saying is just do it.
Yeah.
Like just do a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going to do social media, do a lot of it. If you're going to do pay-per-click, do a lot of it. If you're going to do a client appreciation, market the hell out of it. I want to get your thoughts on this, Tara, is we were doing the Thanksgiving pie thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had delegated it like a good 7th level ascension team leader. I delegated the entire thing to my team. Okay. The day of the pumpkin pie, I'm like, do you have a photographer on staff? What's our social media plan? How are we going to market this to everyone in the marketplace? And they're like, well, no, our clients are going to come in. I'm like, the whole point is to market that we're doing it. Like, I want to get the juice out of this. I want to squeeze every last juice out of this lemon. Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on that? How do you take these client appreciation things and like shine a light on them and then promote them? And do you agree with me? The promotion of them is almost as important as the actual event.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that, as team leaders, we're always telling our agents, to call your past clients in your sphere. But one of the biggest obstacles is, well, what do I call and talk to them about? So having these client events throughout the year, number one, it gives you an excuse to call and invite them, then to call and remind them to come, and then to see them at the event, or to call them after the event and say, hey, I missed you. Sorry you couldn't make it, or thank you for coming. So it gives them the opportunity for 4 or 5 different touches. And you're exactly right. It's about, promoting it leading up to the event, promoting it the day of the event, taking pictures, asking your clients like, hey, post a picture while you're here and do a hashtag and you'll be entered to win into a drawing, or here's a QR code to go leave us a review on Facebook or Zillow or Google or whatever it may be. But it's like you said, just getting all these different pieces out, or, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell right now? And how many referrals can we get? And, so there's the signage to how to come to the event, having signs out, big client event, balloons out everywhere. So yeah, it's just like everything else we've been talking about, just putting a lot of thought into each aspect of what you're doing. We actually just did a client event as well, but instead of the pies, is we did one for, most people, we either have a photographer on staff or we all know a photographer. Is we had one come, we did this last couple of years for holiday pictures. So invite your past clients and have them come. We had one year we did one of those old looking trucks, and we had Christmas trees and blankets, and and we did it outdoors. This year it rained, and so we had to kind of makeshift it into our office. We all of a sudden looked like a JCPenney's or Sears portrait studio, but it had backdrop, but it turns out great, and it's their holiday cards, and then you can have like your little logo kind of off in the corner, just like a photographer would if you go somewhere and have pictures made, and then they can post those digitally, they can mail them out. And we've had Santa at them before, so the kids come. We have cookie stations, keep the kids entertained, hot cocoa stations. So there's just so much, and it's very inexpensive. There's not, you already have the photographer, or you can hire one for the day. It's not that expensive, and then take their picture and edit it and send it out to them, So I think sometimes we get wrapped up and it has to be a huge production. It has to cost a lot of money, but there's a lot of very easy ways to do it. And like I said, just the details into the whole thing are super important.
Yeah. The email blast, the email notifications, the newsletter. You made a really aha moment for me. Was this is an opportunity for your agents to get on the phone and use that new app that does outbound phone calls to call these people.
For sure.
And so they're touching the, talking to oversubscribed, right, Preston? Oversubscribed?
Yep.
Oversubscribed, yeah. Touching them 4 times just on one event.
Yeah.
Is really, really brilliant. So
yeah, because the thing is it doesn't even matter if the client comes to the event or not. It just It's like being invited to a party. You're happy that, oh, well, it was so nice of them to invite me to this party, even if you don't end up getting to attend. It's again, I think,
Yes.
yeah, as realtors, we just think, oh, they're going to remember me forever, but they don't unless you stay in front of them forever. So that's what someone mentioned the other day, and I will probably always use the word past client because it's ingrained in my head. They said, quit calling them past clients, call them forever clients. Past clients, like, it's past, it's done. There's no more juice left to squeeze kind of thing, but they're your forever client at that point.
Stage is changed and follow-up boss. Forever client.
Forever client.
Yeah.
I've been thinking, this is a product of this marketplace too, Tara, the product is because things were so fast and furious, they became way more transactional. And now we're going back to traditional, which is a lifelong client.
Right.
And I thought about the same thing. I don't call them buyer leads anymore. I call them, well, you can call them people I can follow, boss, but I call them a future listing. Because if you sell, why do you sell a person a home? So you can list it in the future. That's the whole point. You want to increase your listing inventory 7 years from now, sell some buyers some homes, and which will force you to follow up with them.
That's true.
Right? So what are you doing in today's marketplace? Obviously, I think is Northwest Arkansas the same as most of North America? Low inventory, high interest rates, longer days on market, kind of like lower sales because it's there's not a lot out there. What are you doing differently or more of the same right now? How will you take me into 2024 strategy?
Sure. Well, it definitely obviously has slowed down and there are less transactions to be had, but I think that creates a lot of opportunity. I always say we're a team that specializes in listing homes that didn't sell the first time. So there's going to be a lot of expired listings because there's a lot of agents out there that they're a 2020 realtor. They don't know how to list a home, market a home, stage a home, correctly price a home, negotiate. They've been what I call a Burger King order taker the last couple of years. And so there's, that's a time for our team to shine, is because we know how to do these things. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity coming up in that regard. FSBOs are always, huge. And unfortunately they've been, unfortunately but they've been successful. Maybe they probably left a lot of money on the table, but they've successfully sold their home. And now I think that's going to be a turn of events. And so I think now, having a proper strategy to market a home, spend marketing dollars. I mean, that's the thing too. As agents, we all know you have to spend money to get a home to sell, and most agents have not had to do that the last couple of years. So if you are spending money and to market a home like these, there's so much opportunity for career realtors to do well in 2024 and move out kind of the hobby realtors that we've had over the last couple of years. So I actually see a lot of opportunity. You said the last couple of years it has been transactional, and I think a lot of that's because it happened so fast. There hasn't been time to build a relationship. So now there are, you have a listing, and I always think it's funny. Our agents sometimes still will kind of like, it's been on the market 8 days and we haven't had any offers yet. I'm like, that's normal, that is so normal. But I'm like, but if you're feeling this way, then your client is probably feeling this way too, because we haven't set the proper expectations. So making sure you're having these conversations also with your clients, and that, hey, it may take 2 or 3 or 4 months or whatever the case is to sell. And then if it happens before that, then you're a hero, but set the proper expectations. And, that this is not a market right now where things are just going to more than likely fly off the shelf in hours. It's back to normal real estate, but we all have such short memories on what that really means.
So the other businesses that we talked about, you focused on real estate and you have other businesses now. Is one of them a real estate school?
No, it's not.
I was just thinking 1,000 applications. I was in my head. I'm like, hey, she has other businesses. 1,000 applications with unlicensed people.
Yeah. Share with the audience your other ancillary businesses. I think ancillary is not the right term for you, other businesses.
Right. Well, we have we started in 2015 or 16, I think it was, a property management business. We have an agent on our team who he kind of got his start in real estate working the rental side of it. And so he always said, hey, we should start a property management company. And so we did. And so we're partners on the property management company. And we have almost 500 doors right now. And property management, I mean, it's a beast, it's a whole different department. But what I love about our property management business right now is that it's independent of our real estate team, meaning they both help each other. But I mean, knock on wood, nothing would happen. But I feel like if today we folded up our real estate team, the property management would just keep on trucking. They're not dependent on our team for business, which is great. And then we also have a title company that we opened up a few years ago. We kind of started off, we worked with another title company and we just hired someone to just do the closing and processing side of it. And that's kind of how we started, kind of tiptoed our way in and hired, someone else to do all the underwriting and the actual title insurance. And then a few years ago, we took that all on as well. And so, you're spending, we're all spending all this money on marketing. And so it's kind of nice to take these marketing dollars and actually, find ways to have a return on it other than just helping on the real estate side. So the title has been really great. It is more dependent on our team. So we did recently, it's not even officially open yet, but we bought a separate brick and mortar building for that title company so they can work on growing, because all of our closings happen at our office and everything's Limbird, vomited everywhere.
Well, hard to get other agents to put that on the contract.
Right. Yeah. And I get that, totally. I would feel the same way. So this is our hope that we can kind of grow that business outside of just our team by having kind of its own standalone independent location. So that's something we're kind of just now ramping up. So those are our main businesses. And then we also do a lot of instant offer stuff. So we do a lot of flips and wholesales. And I say a lot, but probably 10 to 15 a year.
That's great. Fantastic.
But we actually had, one of my favorite things to do is to partner with people on our team. So the way our instant offer program works, if someone on our team brings that to us, then we're kind of the money side of it. And then as long as they're the boots on the ground, they're meeting the contractors, they're taking measurements, that sort of stuff, then they share in the profits of the flip with us. And so that's, it's just been a cool opportunity for our team. But we actually had an agent on our team that's decided that's all they want to do. And so we're actually forming a partnership and going to help him. And he has a business partner as well. And so that's kind of something we're in the process of starting up, is just to kind of feed that engine where that's the only thing it will do, and have him help concentrate on it. So but that's one of our favorite things to do as a team leader, as my husband and I, is just seeing other people take ownership of something or benefit in other ways. I was always told in the beginning that the real money in real estate is not helping other people buy and sell it, but is to invest your own. But obviously we all have to start somewhere to have the money to go do those things. And so that's kind of why we do a lot of what we do, is to help fund some of these other things for investment purposes for ourselves and for our team members down the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way for retainage and, to help somebody you see that's going to, doing really well. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people I know in business, they'll form partnerships with their agents, whether it's owning like a building together, and it's a lot harder for them to walk away from something, if they're tied into the business as well. So it's definitely something, when you have the right people. I wouldn't say just go and do it with anybody that just joins your team, but when you have somebody that you build a relationship, it definitely can be a positive.
Yeah, for sure. Find a way to win-win, so.
Yeah, you have Terry Pranich is a guy. I believe he's up in Edmonton, and he called me up about a month ago. He said, Nick, I think you guys need some advice. I was like, okay, great. Terry, what's your advice? If you don't know who Terry is, he was huge. He was huge. He was like, I think he dressed up as Superman one time and climbed to the top of a building to promote. I mean, this guy's like a legend. Yeah,
Wow.
I think he got a cease and desist order from DC Comic, DC, right? Like a Richard Branson type of character in terms of events. And he goes, I had a mentor when early in my career tell me, you need to become your number one client. You need to become your number one client. And what he meant was, eventually, the deals are, some of these opportunities, like your instant offer, can be yours, done right, ethically and morally, of course, but acquire the assets.
Right.
Like real estate sales is a cash business. We don't own things. We don't have inventory. It's a cash business. So the question comes into play when you start making cash, what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to redeploy it? Are you just going to buy things? Is that why you're in real estate? It sounds to me like you're building things. On the property management side and the title side, different names for just to go deeper there, different names.
Yeah, different Metro Property Management and Harbor Closing Company. So different. So,
and to be a business owner, you got to know how things work. Have you always been that way? Do you when you go into a business, do you kind of break it down, the mechanics of it? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you do like the DISC test, I'm a high D, I, and C. Those kind of, I have no S, so I'm working on that. But yeah,
Great.
yeah, I love to know the ins and the outs of everything that's going on. I will say though, like in the property management business in the beginning, I was more hands-on of understanding how things work, but now it's like, it's I contribute a lot on marketing and how to grow the business, and as property owners ourselves understand what we want out of a property management company. But now knowing the ins and outs of all the systems, I don't know, and sometimes that drives me crazy not knowing all of it. But at the same time too, I know that I always say my brain is kind of like an accounting method, like FIFO or LIFO, like first in first out or last in first out. Like my brain's maxed out, and so if something else gets put in, something else gets shot out, and I have no control over what I lose. So that being said, I think with our property management company and our closing company, the keys have been finding the right people, which is hard to do. It took us a long time on the property management side, but hiring the right people that you can trust, that are going to dive in and they're going to understand all those things. But like I said, I would love to know how to do all of it. Maybe when I retire or something, I can do that. But but right now it's just not possible.
What should people do before they start a flipping business, property management business, title business? So that solo agent, top producer wants to build a team, or that team that's building the team right now, what should they master first? Or should they not? Should they just open up all these ancillaries?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good way to leverage, like, especially the market we're going in, having the property management side is great for people that maybe have trouble selling their house or feel like they owe too much on it or whatever, or someone that can't buy right now because the interest rates are high. So they're going to go into a rental instead. So it does help, leverage and offset your business. But I would say, first get the real estate part down, make sure that you've got a steady flow of income that you can count on, whether it's your own production or a team, and don't lose focus on what's paying the bills. Make sure you keep a really good eye on that, and then pick one thing at a time. I think sometimes agents try to do too much too fast and end up kind of failing at a lot of different things. So kind of pick the one that you think that would be the easiest to do and to get up and running, and kind of master it, get it down, get processes down, get the right people in place, let it struggle. I mean, every new business is going to have ups and downs. So figure out those struggles, overcome those, and then then just keep adding on. Like I said, our real estate team, we started in 2010. Property management was like 2015 or 16. Our title business was up 2018. So it's just, every couple of years, just kind of getting things down. And the wholesale stuff, just kind of looking for opportunities and taking one that you feel like you can't lose on and kind of starting there and get your feet wet and making sure you understand, and then you have contractors in place. We all probably struggle with everyone goes, oh, you're in real estate, but you have plenty of contacts. I'm like, well, actually, she's like, we're always looking for more people because it's so hard to find good contractors. And if you find a good one, then you refer them to everybody. And the next thing you know, you can't get them anymore either. So, make sure you have people in place. We have an agent on our team right now that's looking at buying a home to flip personally for himself and his wife. And he's like, well, I could do a lot of the work myself. I was like, yeah, you probably can, but just think about, how many hours is it going to take you to do that, and opportunity cost of if you can't go sell real estate because you're painting, what is that costing you? So, really, and understanding, we all know anytime whether you're remodeling your own personal house or it's a flip, it's always going to cost you more than you think it is. There's always going to be some little hiccup, and it's always going to take longer than you think it will. Those are pretty much givens, it's going to happen every time. So have to have some buffers.
But you kept the main thing, and that's the Limbird real estate,
right?
The transaction, the client, because yes. and then you worked out from that transaction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Keep the main thing, and don't lose focus on that. I think that's what I see happen a lot, and then everything's kind of falling apart.
Well, this has been an awesome interview, Preston. Any last question?
No, I can't think of any.
Yeah. If you were to give a young team, it may be the last answer, a young team advice today, what would it be?
Let's see. I would say
their year one, or you go back and give Tara, give yourself advice in 2010, 2012, when you were just building this thing up.
Yeah. Well, I would say for a brand new person is give yourself time. I was at a conference not very long ago, an agent out of Dallas, very successful agent, said about 6 years into his journey, he had a mentor, and he's like, why am I not at basically the top of the mountain yet? I've been doing this for 6 years. And he's like, just give yourself time. You're just not there yet. And I think, we all want the staples of the that's easy button and just immediately go to the top. And, everyone's journey takes a different time, but I would say just give yourself time. There's, especially in real estate, there's so many things that we can't control, and so it's just, understanding that, and that you can get to where you want to go. You just have to give yourself time to get there. It just doesn't happen overnight. And I would say, as far as giving myself advice is, we've all lost too much sleep on things that don't really matter at the end of the day. Whether you're in real estate or any business, I've started trying to keep the mindset, if this won't matter in 5 years, then don't give it 5 minutes of my time. And it's just because we can get so wrapped up in all the little nuances and, oh, somebody said this or this happened and da-da-da. We're all just so worked up and lose sleep fretting about things. And at the end of the day, it's like, just your family and your health, all the things are number one. Everything else is number two. And it's just, sometimes whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen. And that's okay.
I can't think of a better way to end the podcast, Preston.
Yeah, definitely so.
That was very wise. I was looking for wisdom there, Tara. I mean, after running a real estate team for 13 years, going on 14 years, multiple different marketplaces. And when you look at the evolution of teams, that's a long time for teams, because teams are fairly new in the last 20 years. So, Tara, we wish you the best of luck and more future success. Look forward to seeing you at more events, seeing you on stage speak.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
See ya.